Welcome back, everybody, to the RCC PLODcast. We are now on episode 23 with myself, Scott, at the helm this week, and we've got another good episode ahead, full of stories, insights, and plenty of post-marathon energy from two people you probably know. Our co-hosts ran Manchester and London last weekend, Jamie and Freddy, and we've also got the delightful, as always, Kaylee. So we will get straight into it. So whether you're on a recovery walk or you're just listening in on your lazy day or you're out on a long run, let's get into it and see what happened to these two last weekend. So who wants to start?
Freddy.
So Freddy wasn't doing it. He kind of tapped out, and I know you uploaded a video yesterday. That's probably a spoiler for anyone that's not watched that yet. You probably find out. Do you want to explain what happened for those who haven't watched it?
Yeah, well, I'll start off with that, like you say, because it was touch or go whether or not I was actually going to do it, because I've obviously had this niggle in my calf for a week or two at the moment. And I went for a park run on Saturday, and I did say that if I can do a park run on Saturday morning, then I can do the marathon. And I actually didn't put this in the video that I put out. I totally got this wrong. I put in the video the bit where I'm at park run and I say, right, I'm going to go do my warm-up now. But what you didn't see was me do my warm-up and do the park run, because I didn't do either. And that's because as I started to do my warm-up, I was like, no, this isn't right. I'm not going to risk it on a park run. So I got in my car and went home. So didn't do the park run. But when I got home, I cut my grass. And it's going to sound stupid, but I'm cutting my grass, and the whole time I'm doing it, I'm up and down on my toes, bobbing around, trying to do some calf work as I'm doing it. And I'm like, yeah, getting nice and loose. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to run a couple of laps of my garden. I've only got a little garden, but I did a few laps of it. And I was like, actually, now I've given that a proper warm up and spent some, like, I must have spent a good half an hour just on my calves, warming them up. They actually felt quite comfortable. So I just thought, you know what, I'll see how the day goes. And that was in the morning. And it wasn't really till late afternoon, maybe early evening, where I was starting to think, okay, yeah, I think I'm going to do it. My son was at work that night. He works at Witherspoons in Morpeth. And he needed picking up at midnight when he finished his shift. And my wife was going to do it. And she'd had a crappy day, and she was knackered. So I was like, you know what, I'll pick him up. Because the idea was for me to go to bed early and leave early doors and just go straight to Manchester. But with me picking him up at midnight, I was like, you know what, if I'm going to go, now's the time to do it. It's pointless going to bed for a few hours. So yeah, I jumped in the car and spur of the moment thought, bugger it, let's just give it a go and see what happens. I don't know if it was the right thing to do or not, to be fair, and I still don't know if it was the right thing to do. My leg's fine, by the way. I did the marathon, got round it, and my leg is absolutely fine. But yeah, I don't know if it was the right decision or not, because it could have gone. And I think I had that message from you, Scott, saying, wait, you just got some dinner brought to you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But you said something to me, Scott. You texted me and basically said, it might not be your calf muscle, it might be your tendon. And actually, at first I was like, oh, don't say that now. You know, I'm in Manchester at this point, at the start line, and I'm like, or near the start line.
I didn't know you were at the start line at that point. I was still, the last message I got from you was park run 5 to 9, park run morning. Warm up told me everything I need to know, not going to bother. And then next time I speak to you, I tell you that.
Yeah. And that's why I'm still not sure if it was the right thing to do or not, because you said that to me and I was like, at first it was a little bit of a panic, thinking, oh man, if that is my tendon and I snap that, I'm out for however long, you know, who knows? I mean, that could be 6 months, either a year or whatever before that's working again. So I really didn't know what to do. But then this might have meant nothing, but it's what went through my head at the time. I was like, okay, if it's a muscle tear, obviously don't stretch. And I hadn't stretched it at all. Then I was like, well, tendons you do stretch. Should you stretch them when they're not very well? I don't know. Shall we find out? Okay. So I'm outside Man United's ground thinking, okay, I'm giving it a nice stretch on my calf here. And I have to say, it actually felt quite nice. And I don't know if it did any benefit or if it helped warm it up a little bit more again. But it gave me a bit of confidence that as I'm stretching it, it wasn't getting painful. So yeah, I still don't know what it is, but it's definitely on the mend. And I would say that if 100% is my calf is fine, then my calf is at 90% right now.
Right.
I actually weirdly finished the marathon with my calf feeling better than it did at the beginning. So go
Cool.
figure.
Back to you on the start line then, right? So let's jump in the car and head 200 miles south to the start line of London, because I know you as well, Jamie, you weren't 100% chipper before you got to the start line either. You had something wrong with a lower back glute tendon.
Yeah, it was really annoying to be. I've had a couple of minor niggles like, all through training, but not this. So 2 weeks before London, I had actually it was after I'd done the 10K race. And this wasn't from the 10K race. I was out on just an easy run, and I felt like a slight strain in like the adductor muscle and like your leg, and I've had an injury there before. It was like super minor. It's just kind of more annoying than anything. And I was like, oh, damn it, like just don't want to bugger it up. So I like, kept it quite easy for that week. Then I was out on the long run on your last taper, which was about 19K. And like my back sort of tightened up a bit. And it's kind of like you slept funny. Does that make sense? Like when you like cricked your neck or something, you slept funny and you're like sort of... But it wasn't like a stabbing pain or anything, so I didn't really think too much about it, but it hung around for a few days. And then I started whining in the group, you got to get your excuses in early, haven't you? About, I don't know, it's the glute and it's like on the bottom of the tailbone. I was like, I think it's going to be fine. And then I became obsessed with like speaking to Chat GPT about it, honestly, because you can ask the same question over and over again, like just continuously ask the same question. And I do have a physio as well, because luckily I'm really lucky with my work. I get private physio like covered via my work. And they're like, oh yeah, it's fine, just send it. And yeah, so I came into the marathon and with this back issue, and I remember walking around the expo at London, and I wasn't there for ages. I was only there for like 2 hours, and I remember my back aching afterwards, and I was a bit concerned because I'm like, this isn't like taper thing. This is like an actual minor injury. Because I know the difference. I know the taper craziness. Because I had like a weird ache in my ankle. I'm like, no, that's taper craziness. The back thing was a real thing, as I found out. Because, spoiler alert, I'm now actually injured and I can't run for the minute. So it'd be alright though, it'd be fine. But yeah, that's kind of how that ended up happening. But I was at no minds because it was London. If it was been anything else, I'd have been like, I'm just not going to bother. But I trained so hard. I think you guys know how long and much I trained for this. And it was London. I'm like, I just can't not do it. Because and my club gave me the place and everything, and I'm like, there's no way I'm not doing this. I know I think you can defer like quite close up to the day, but that wasn't going to be a thing that I was going to do. So I was just going to send it anyway, pretty much, unless I was hobbling.
See, that's where Manchester was a little bit different. With Manchester, you had to defer by the 10th of February. If you get injured after that, it's tough.
I think it's like a day before you can defer London. It's pretty crazy. Right. But I mean, London's just borderline impossible to get into. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure if anyone like listening to this and knows about like things like the Good for Age times and the Championship times, they've all been lowered again this year to crazy times. So it's just so difficult to get in now that I just wasn't willing to give it up, and it was my A race for the year as well. But yeah, I got to the start line. I actually felt okay on the day going up to it. I remember sitting there chatting to some friends. I managed to bump into like 3 of my friends in the start area, and I can't explain to you how big the start, because there's multiple start areas in London. Like because you've got the green, pink, red, and blue waves, and I was in the blue wave. And there's also the championship start as well. And I managed to bump into like 3 of my mates, and I was just like sat on the floor like. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, hello, Simon. Yeah, it was, small world. Yeah, and I felt fine like during the warm up, and except for when it's 9 o'clock in the morning and it's boiling hot already. But I'm sure Freddie is also aware of what that was like.
Yeah, so it was a warm day across the whole of the country, and if anyone doesn't know by now, Manchester and London were both ran on the same day. So I was back here, it was like mission control here. I had so many trackers open on so many devices, tracking everybody I knew in the race. And then I added Freddy last minute when I realised he put his Addy 4 Pro banana skin shoes on and he was going for it as well. Yeah, just before you get into the race details then, were you okay? Had you calmed down after the expo, Jamie? Because you had a bit of a fanboy moment, didn't you?
Yeah. I met Ben Parks, and if you don't know who he is, great YouTube channel. Highly recommend watching it. He's they say never meet your heroes, but in real life, he was such a nice guy, and he was genuinely asking me about the race and everything, and just like spent a fair bit of time like just talking to me about it. And I'm quite a nervous guy in real life as well, quite shy. So it was like I was just like waiting in the back kind of sheepishly. I actually bought a t-shirt and I was waiting to pick it up. So I had an excuse to go there. But yeah, it was like the expo. The expo was actually like pretty good, and everything was like reasonably well priced as well, which I thought was quite surprising. I bought me and Scott were a fan of these notch bracelets, which I'm not wearing right now. There you go. They're good fun, by the way, if anyone's interested in like collecting race memorabilia stuff. Bit expensive to get started, but once you're started, it's actually quite cheap.
Yeah.
And the London one was only 12 quid. Like,
Nice.
so I was like, yeah, result. And they had a little stand there, and they're like, New Balance had a huge, like, massive stand. It was huge. Like, I can't explain how big that stand, because they're the main sponsors of the race. But yeah, it was like the expo was really well run, and it was nice, and like it was very organized. Like I didn't have to wait for my number. There was like so many options. Like just walk in and you could just get your number from wherever, super quick. And yeah, I managed to get around it in like an hour. Yeah, bumped into who I wanted to see, and yeah, they had all like different bits on the stage as well of various, like they had the Running Channel podcast was done on the stage live at London, and like a few other things. Some of the elites got onto the stage and whatnot. It was pretty cool. So you could like meet them. But yeah, it was really well run, and I wasn't too flustered about afterwards. And it was really nice because now I think I remember texting Freddie and whatnot on the train, but like the Elizabeth line goes straight into XL now, so it's like super efficient to like get into London. Because you go on some of the older trains on the Underground, it kind of feels a bit like some old wagon from like 50 years ago. Whereas the ones on going to the XL are much nicer and cleaner. And this is coming from someone who hasn't lived in London in a long time, and I don't usually travel on public transport. But it was great for me. It was straight into Paddington, one train to XL. Quickly walk around, grab my number, get your t-shirt, and it's a really nice t-shirt actually. This is it. And then you're out and back home again. It was like, yeah, it was great. If you ever do London, do go not on a Saturday. The Saturday is a bad shout because apparently it's crazy on a Saturday. I went on a Thursday and it was busy, but not, it wasn't stupid. It was, as you would expect for a running show.
Is there an expo for Amsterdam?
I don't know. I basically entered it and have not looked at it since because I'm so terrified by it. So they did send us a big pack of like an email of like all the stuff that like about it and that sort of thing. But I just looked at the email and went, I don't have to worry about that till like July. So like when I start training, I'll start thinking about logistics. But I've booked a hotel and I've got a flight, so that's all I need to worry about for now. I've got someone to look after my dog. Like I'll worry about the rest later. But I think there is, because I've got to go and pick my number up. So I'd assume there'd be something, and it's our 50th anniversary this year. So I'm assuming it's going to be a bit of a spectacle. But I'll tell you when I'm not so scared. I'm in prep mode.
Well, listen to the story these two are about to tell, and I know we've the
messages we've had this week, I'm like, oh, this is not what I need to hear. The first marathon, it really isn't. But anyway,
when is Amsterdam?
October the 19th.
Okay, cool.
So I don't really start training properly until like July, August time. So I'm not thinking about it. It's easier that way. Just put it in the back of your mind. Anyway, back to your stories.
Yeah, go on. So, Freddie, you're in the starting pen. Gun goes off. Weather's nice, but not too hot at that time of day. So, I know how you first went.
Yeah, it was actually really quite a pleasant morning. I did think about the start line before I left home, and I grabbed one of them big oversized hoodie things. I've got I've got a couple of those, and I grabbed one of those, thinking, okay, I'll take that, wear that to the start line, and chuck that in the charity bin with everybody else with their tops. But I actually ended up leaving it in the car because go on.
Just going to kick my dog out. Can you hear him barking?
I did hear him there, but
Yeah,
I
I'm going to
can't
kick him in the house. 2 minutes.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, I heard that one. Yeah. Yeah, I put my hoodie in, but I realised as soon as I got to Manchester, and even at that time, it's like I think it was about 7 o'clock or something. I left my car, and even by then, I knew, I don't need to wear that today. It was just a nice, pleasant morning. I wouldn't say it was hot, but it was just nice and warm. But from the start line, it was quite obvious that it was going to get a lot warmer. We were told it was going to be about 18 degrees. It was definitely warmer than that as the day got on, but. The start was great. I really like the way that Manchester do it, and I don't know that I've ever. You tell me, is this something you've seen elsewhere? So everyone gets, as you know, you get your normal pen color or whatever it is, So I was in the grey zone, but every wave had their own start. Like normally it's just one big line, right? Yeah, you're in waves, but the gun goes off and the elites off they go, and the rest of us just slowly ferry through. That was different. Every wave had a start gun.
London's the same, by the way.
Right, gotcha. Well, that was great. So we all had that same start gun atmosphere. We had the countdown from 10 to 1. Then the fire went up in the air and off we went. But it was great. Go on.
Just before you get into it, Darlington 10K does that. Of all the things, they bring you forward in your time. You don't get the fireworks, obviously, because it's Darlington 10K, but it's really good. They get the mayor does a speech, and then they set everybody off. They walk you up to the start line in your time pen. So if anyone wants to experience that lives in the northeast, it's quite a good 10K race. Anyway, sorry, Freddie, continue.
No, that's cool. No, I really like the way that they did that. It was good fun, and the start was great. I was really conscious, and I actually said this in my video that I put out yesterday. I was really conscious that everyone's going, right? Everybody's off. Because the pen that I was in, everybody was going to be around that 4-hour sort of speed when they're pulling off. And that's obviously not the speed that I ended up wanting to do because of my leg. So everyone's going, and I just consciously say to myself, don't go with them. You can go with them, but don't, because you'd be an idiot. So everyone was just flying past me the whole time. But actually it was great fun because I got to see way more people doing what they're doing. So yeah, it was great. The start was good fun, is all I can really say with that one, yeah.
Very up to you, because you weren't too far behind the elites, were you, your pen?
I was wave 2. So I was right at the very start. So the elites went off at 9:30, I think the elite men went off. I think the elite women went off first, then the elite men. And then it would have been championship, which is the really fast amateurs. And then it would have been wave 1 or 2. So I was only maybe 10 minutes behind the elite pen. So yeah, it's done the same way at London, but London's, because it's even bigger, it has multiple start lanes. So there is blue goes this way, and then pink goes this way, and red goes that way, and whatever, and they all merge at mile 1 or 2. So there is actually a slightly different route depending on what pen you're in. But the pen was great. The start was brilliant. So we lined, they called you forward 10 minutes before, and I wasn't actually hanging around the pen as nearly as long as I thought. We were probably hanging around for maybe 15, 20 minutes, which was fine. And you kind of wait in a pen area, and then 5 minutes before the start, you walk to the start line, and it's organised like a well-oiled machine. You've got just a wall of marshals, so no one can get past. And I was trying to get to the front of my pen because I would have been in the faster lot of my pen. And I didn't want to be right at the very front, but far enough forward. And yeah, the start was very controlled. And you stand on the start line, and it's basically pretty much the same start line as the elites start on. It's cool. You're just there, and then you just got this massively wide open, almost dual carriageway that you're just about to hoof down at Blackheath. It's super awesome. Yeah, it was very well organised. But yeah, it was getting hot on my start line, and I was wearing a super light singlet and just a pair of shorts, and it was pretty roasting at that point. But I don't mind the heat most of the time, to be fair. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers other people. But it still does, play into it, and I'll get into it later. But there's a bit around the back, of Canary Wharf, where it's like an oven. Because I actually watched your video earlier, Freddy, and I was watching the marathon. It was like there's quite a lot of suburban running around, like houses and stuff in the video.
Yeah.
London doesn't have as much of that because it's obviously very, very, very. The whole marathon is in essentially the CBD.
Yeah.
So you got this incredibly big options, even hotter, because you've got. Well, first of all, we're down south, and second of all, you're in the middle of a city. And the building's all like mirror glass, and that's like the latter half of the race is boiling.
Manchester, that reminded me of the business district in London. Was that in this year's loop, Freddie? Did you go right through the bit where all the skyscrapers are? But I thought it was overcast when I did it, so it was quite cold running through there.
Where I was?
Yeah.
Oh, do you know? I don't actually, honestly, this is going to sound stupid, and I think someone put this in our WhatsApp group.
Yeah, I did. You don't remember. It's weird.
I remember a lot of the roads. I remember a lot of the suburban bits because largely that's where I was walking.
Yeah. So this is 6 or 7 miles in after the dual carriageway bit. You head back, you're back past Old Trafford, and you go into the city centre. And there's loads of you run like you do it out like a loop up and back through all the skyscrapers.
Take your word for it. I genuinely don't remember.
Yeah, it's weird when you're racing. You just can't remember certain aspects of it.
If I'm honest, and I did this on purpose. My whole purpose of my day was to be a cheerleader for everybody else, and that is really what I wanted to do. So I was people watching the whole time, and not really paying much attention to anything like that. If I'm honest, because and this is going to be a really controversial thing to say for anybody that is up in the northeast in particular. Everyone always talks about the Great North Run and how the crowds put the atmosphere on, and they do, and it's amazing. I thought Manchester did it a bit better.
That's
I know. I know.
That's a big statement.
I know. I really do. I think obviously it's a marathon, right? So it's a longer route. It's double the length of the Great North Run. So there are parts where there's not so many people. But I think what made it different was when you're at the Great North Run, it's largely on that dual carriageway, isn't it? Or certainly a double wide road. And the people are respectful and they stay on the footpaths and all of that. In Manchester, it's a little bit different. Yeah, there are bits where they're all behind barriers. But there's a lot actually where they're stood on the road where you're running. And it's a bit like when you watch the Tour de France and they're going up the hills and the crowd are parting as the bikes come through. It was a lot like that in a lot of the areas where the crowd really closed it up and almost forced the runners to run tighter together in the middle with all this crowd around you. And they were all shouting. And that happened many, many times on the route. And so for me, I'm really sorry, Newcastle, but step up your game a little bit because Manchester had you this week. It was they were great.
You've got to live in the northeast and socialise.
Yeah.
I know.
I think that would be too much for me, because when we did the Great North Run last year, the bit at the beginning where you drop down before you climb up the Heworth, that was intense. The noise, like everyone was screaming and cheering and blowing whistles, and it was so good. But I found it quite overwhelming. Like it was a bit like a sensory overload. Like because when you're like in race mode and it was very distracting, and I don't know, it kind of made my heart rate spike a little bit. It was a bit like, but then we've watched your video as well, and we said the same thing. It looked narrow in places, which is nuts for a race like of that size. But
and actually,
what you're saying though, my heart will always be with the Great North Run. I can't even imagine that it would. Nah, not having it.
Well, I know I'm probably going to regret saying that now, but I think I think it did make it look narrow, but the roads actually weren't that narrow. They weren't. It's just people were filling it as well, and for me it really added to the atmosphere because a marathon's a long way, isn't it? And if you're at mile 18 and let's say you're on a dual carriageway where there is nobody, then it's going to be a lonely place. But there was never a lonely place along that whole route. There was a couple of quieter spots, but then you'd run 100 yards and all of a sudden there's another crowd. So I think that's part of the benefit of it being through the housing estates as well, is people were coming out of their homes to watch and they didn't have far to go. It was great atmosphere.
Before we go back to Jamie, can I just ask you a question on that? I don't want to give too much away because I know you still want to talk about like how the race progressed. But because you went out at like an easier pace, so obviously your time was longer than you planned. Did you find that towards the back end of the marathon in the last miles, there was still people on course cheering everyone on, or did you find that it thinned out as you went through it?
No, it was actually a genuine worry.
Yeah.
Had it thinned out, I guess I don't know, because I don't know what the guys at the front had.
Yeah.
But for me, I never thought, oh, where is everybody?
Yeah.
There was still lots of people there, especially at the finish straight.
Yeah.
The finish straight, I again, Scott, you could probably attest to this. I didn't do last year's. I know you did, but this year the finishing straight really, actually, funny enough, reminded me of the Great North Run, because you turn this corner, it's a left-hand corner, and then it's just one long almighty straight, and that is probably only half a mile, but felt like 5.
I forgot about the 0.4. I turned that corner and thought, I've smashed for 4 hours here, and then I realised that it was 8 minutes to run.
Yeah, it's a long way down, but that whole straight, both sides were just full of people, or more or less full of people, going absolutely mental. So yeah, it was good.
I mean, even if you are out on your feet, you're dead on your feet, that the endorphins kick in when you get that rush of people cheering you on. You can't not drag you home. It's like a hidden sensory thing we've got within us, I think.
Yeah.
Jamie, I was tracking you, and I knew what your target was going to be, and because we've talked about it for a long time pre-race, we knew what you were going for, and I was tracking you, and you were like clockwork for a good portion of that race.
Yeah,
How was that?
it was dead on for like 30, 35k. It would have been.
How was that? Like, you must have been getting more and more confident as you were clocking off those splits.
Yeah, it was like, it was going well. Like, I was purposely like on the start line, like, don't go off like an idiot, and you can't win a marathon in the first 10k. Don't do it. And I didn't. Like, I think the first kilometer was maybe a couple of seconds fast, but it wasn't anything ridiculous. It was like 4:04 or something like that, the first k. Which I was looking, for anyone interested, I was hoping to average about 4:07 k pace for the race. So it was all pretty solid. And yeah, I had the Pace Pro thing on my watch, which was actually really, really distracting for that particular race, because it was following the course and it was not quite mirrored exactly right. And like the lap time is coming up at almost saying a different time. The lap time was saying faster than the split time on the Pace Pro, so it was causing me to like speed up, slow down to make sure I like had like the exact time, because I was running.
And this Curly's nodding. Is this some kind of Garmin thing?
Yeah, so Pace Pro, basically you can put in a race, especially like a big race like London, put the course in. You can do it without a course, but it's like even better with the course, and you can say I want to run it in 2:55 or whatever. And then it will give you all your splits for each K, and then you can adjust it for like hills, positive, negative splitting, that kind of thing. And it comes up on the watch as like almost like a little graph, and where your current speed is, what your average speed is, and like you can essentially run exactly to it. And when you want to run a very specific time, it's quite useful for that. And I've used it to get PBs and stuff in the past.
Right.
So it's a Garmin thing, but I'm sure like Chorus and Polar will have a similar sort of situation. I'm not Garmin affiliated or anything. Most people just tend to have a Garmin. But yeah, so, and the start of the course, I mean, the crowds at London are like ridiculous. Like, nothing I've ever seen like that before. I mean, I don't know. Like, I will say it probably must be the best supported marathon probably on the planet, and that's not an exaggeration. I get, like I get very overwhelmed. I really struggle with like a lot of noise.
Yeah.
It's just I'm, a bit different like that, and I do struggle with it. So this was the issue. I was wearing, the Shox headphones, full volume, could not hear my music. I couldn't hear it at all. Like for most of the race, and that's genuine. I don't know what was playing because I couldn't hear it. That is how loud the crowd is. Like, and that is pretty much for the entire race. Like I remember the best. So the race was going like say really well. I remember this big downhill, and I remember my watch saying, "Oh, you got to do a 4:02," and I remember running down it, and this wheelchair person came like whizzing through, like it must have been like 30 miles an hour, like around all these people. And I ran a 3:56 on that, and I'm like, damn, 3:56 in a marathon, like, and you're already like 7K, and I was like, nice, which is about 20-mile pace. But it was quite a big hill. It's like, if you know the marathon London course is like a big descent just after Blackheath, like for about pretty much a mile. But it was about right. And then it kind of goes into the Cutty Sark, which is like a really well-known like landmark for the London Marathon, and that was just mental. It must have been 10, 15 deep, and you just got people hanging over the barriers going, "Whoa!" Like there was cameras. There was like the BBC News crew were there. Like there was people with all these things. There's big cranes with cameras on all over it, and you're like, "This is insane!" Like it's the most insane thing. And you're trying just to, I actually bought the pictures from the photo company, which is the same one that does Manchester, and I was like going through, like looking properly just dialed in to like staring at my watch, like am I get the right time? And that's the 10K point, and I went through the 10K point in 41:20, and it was like bang on. Like I'm like, this is just, and I felt fine, and I even had an alarm on my watch, which is super useful for marathon racing. So every 20 minutes it would beep to tell me to take gel. So I was doing 90 grams per hour, because if you're...
It's not normally you that. We on the gel.
Yeah, for marathon racing I do, yeah.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah,
for ultras I don't do gels. But for marathon racing I do, because you can't really eat in a marathon. Like at that pace, you're like, I was still doing like 168 beats, I think I was on at that point. So I can't eat like in that. So it's just I was using precision hydration gels, and just 3 of those an hour essentially. And yeah, I went through, like, I was just feeling like great. And like, I look at the pictures and I can see like my form is good as well. And my back wasn't bothering me too much. And I thought, oh, we're on here, boys. It's like, it's going down.
So hold it there then. So we're going to go back north to Manchester. So
I love the geography.
Scott's loving this. He is loving it. If anyone's just listening, he is loving being his lordship here.
Absolutely, because you did this to me over Berlin the other week, so I'm just getting revenge here. So you're feeling comfortable, Freddy. You're in a good place. You've vlogged it, and you can see almost like the spiral slowly turns. So right up to where you're comfortable, what happened?
Well, it didn't feel like it was that slow, actually, the spiral. It felt more like a switch going off for me, because I got to half marathon in, I think I clocked it at something like 2:34, something like that.
Right.
Which for me is a really nice, comfortable run.
It's isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's nice and easy, and it's exactly what I wanted. I actually, in my head, said to myself, if I can come in around that kind of 5-hour mark, then I've kept it nice and easy, and I'll have a nice day. It would be good fun. And I got to that no problem at all. I did need to use the bathroom a couple of times before I got there, which was annoying.
I think you've seen you doing that at one point on the video.
Yeah, yeah. No, I got there really comfortable, and actually feeling really quite happy about it. And I thought, okay, if I just maintain this, then I'm going to get around exactly where I wanted to be. I did change my my running pattern throughout the whole race, and I did this on purpose as well, because I was worried about my calf. I've noticed lately, and I think this has probably got something to do with why my calf is was getting this injury, is as I'm getting that bit lighter now, because I've dropped over 45 pounds now. I think it's about 47 now, something like that. I'm obviously getting lighter, and that's allowing me to run more on my toes. And I find naturally that I'm doing that now without thinking about it. I suddenly realise, oh shit, I'm on my toes, and it's fine, it's comfortable. But I made a conscious effort during that to cut my strides a bit shorter and mid-foot land, and just to try and reduce the chance of getting it. So I was doing that, and I was like, okay, this is comfortable. If I got to halfway in just over 2.5 hours, maintain this, and we're going to be all home and dry. And then it really did feel as quick as this. I was like, all of a sudden thinking, I can't I can't handle the water very well. It wasn't going down very well. And I was drinking, and I was drinking at a walk. Every water stop, I would stop running and I would walk to make sure that I drank. But all of a sudden, I'm like, I just feel really hot, and almost to the point where my hands have started to feel like they were swelling up. You know, like when you go on an aeroplane or whatever, and your hands just feel like they're not quite yours. Your rings get a bit tight and all of that. I could feel that, and thinking, oh yeah, it really is getting quite warm out here. And the next thing I know, it's just like, right, I'm stopping. I'm going for a walk. And I walked, and I think I said this on my video as well. I walked, and I before I realised it, I'd walked for a kilometre. And that's when I thought, oh, I've just walked a kilometre. I better have another little get back onto the run. And the truth is, I just couldn't get back into it. My body was just like, no, you're not. We're not going to let you run. We're going to make you feel absolutely awful each time that you try. My heart rate was low. I was down in zone 1. It was absolutely fine. It was just every time that I would try and break out, it would say, nope, we're not going to let you. And again, it wasn't my heart rate going up or anything like that. It was just my body saying it's too hot. Really weird, really horrible feeling. And frankly, there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. There wasn't a great deal of places to get shade. It was only getting hotter as the day was going on. You know, bear in mind now, the time that I think my start wave was something like 20 past 10. And, you know, so halfway, it's midday or gone midday at that point, should I say, nearly 1 o'clock, whatever. So it's only going to get hotter from there for the next couple of hours. And that was the point that I was walking. And it's really weird, right? Because I went there knowing I was going to go slow. And I did say, and I said to you guys, time is irrelevant. It doesn't, and I actually text you in the morning, Scott, saying basically I'm going to give myself 7 hours because that will get me around to the official cut-off time. Was about 7 hours. And if that's what it takes, then fine. It's different when you start running though, right? You start running and your leg starts to loosen off and you're feeling good. You get halfway and just your ticket and you're thinking, well, actually, could I go a bit quicker? And I didn't, because I said to me, no, don't be stupid. Just carry on being sensible. But in your mind, you still want to start racing, don't you? Because you just can't help it. And that was what was getting me down because I was so hot and my body. I think I probably had heat stroke. Is the truth. I think I probably did, just because of how bad it made me feel. Yeah, and I think that's what was getting me down. The fact that my brain was telling me, no, go on, keep going, but my body was saying no, and there was absolutely nothing I could do to change its mind. You know, I tried all sorts. I tipped water over me to cool me down, all that. People, it was great. Loads of the locals obviously recognised what was going on with the heat, and loads of them were out with hose pipes. The hose pipes were everywhere. Most of the road was wet, honestly, when you were going past houses. So they were all trying to help, but there was just nothing you could do. And I think ultimately, last count, and it's not really a thing you should count, but I did. I couldn't help it. Is I passed 6 people being worked on by paramedics. You know, 6 different people. One of them had blankets held up, so nobody could see what was going on. But actually, that for us, that obviously makes it quite scary, right? Because you don't know what's going on behind the blankets. From what I hear on the news, nobody, there was no fatalities or anything. So I think, you know, God forbid, everybody got home okay. But then that's playing on your mind as well. So then, as you're feeling that bad, you're like, well, I don't want to be another one of those because. One, there doesn't look like there's that many paramedics left to come and help anybody. And you don't want to be the person that's putting on to them either. So it was just having that constant reminder that you're not here to race, you're here to finish. If it takes 7 hours, it takes 7 hours. It didn't. I'm not exactly sure what my time was. I know it was over 6 hours. But yeah, it was almost, it felt like a light switch. It wasn't good fun. I said to my wife that if I could have opened a magic door, that I opened it up, stepped through it, and I was home, I would have took it all day. I would have, without a doubt, I would have took it all day. But I knew if I stopped, I had to find a tram, I had to find a bus. That could have been another mile walk. Well, that's another mile I could have been down the road. You know, so I just thought, let's just have a walk.
As well, Lord. That is the runner's mindset. That's the internal argument you've had with yourself. And you could have taken the magic door to go home. But I know as well, you're a stubborn bugger. And there's no way, because you said at the beginning of the vlog, plenty of tram stops. I can get off. You were reasonable, but you're 20 miles deep at this point. You've done
Yeah.
that, and your brain doesn't work like that. You were sticking that out regardless. I knew you were going to.
I wanted this, is the
Yeah,
truth.
you did. You don't like the
Yeah,
medals.
I wanted. Yeah, I don't even know where my medal is. It's in the house somewhere.
See, that's
honestly.
your problem, Freddie. I got this before I even started.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned this in the chat. Yeah,
Got the finish
Which is
t-shirt before I
bizarre.
even started.
yeah. But I wanted the t-shirt, and so I thought, you know what, we'll go for a walk. And I could probably say 4, 5, maybe even 6 times I physically stopped and I sat on a wall and I had a couple of minutes breather. And that was actually because my lower back was really hurting, so I wanted to sit down or lean against something. But yeah, 5 or 6 times I stopped and had a break and just waved at people as they went by, and then carried on going again, and just took my time to get round it.
I can't believe you did all that in your Adios Pro 4s. Like,
Yeah.
legs not falling off.
They-
Like these really aggressive carbon plated shoes, and you were like,
Yeah.
"There's some a pimple in them. It's totally
Yeah.
fine." I'm
And
surprised
do you know what?
it's still attached.
And do you know what? They were really comfortable. Even just to walk in, they were really comfortable.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they were great. Yeah.
Seamlessly there when you mentioned your lower back was hurting, so you had to have a rest. So we'll travel back to London. You were
Yeah.
flying around.
Yeah.
You were fine on the money. Your splits are brilliant, and I was like, we're all of the people in the WhatsApp groups that we know. We're all going, he's going to smash this. We're all talking at you. We know you're not on your phone. Freddie was on his
Hey,
phone. You were.
I'm going around the marathon texting these guys saying, how's he getting on?
See, I took it that serious that because I well, people probably know me as the resident idiot when it comes to racing, but like I'm like I don't want any extra weight, so I put my phone in my drop bag. And I'm like I just don't need it, like because I've got music on my watch, and I don't need music to race with either. I just happen to have it, but I'm just like I just don't need my phone, so I put it in my drop bag. They say they're valuables, but it's fine. But yeah, I hit halfway, which by the way is just after Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge was rad. Apart from I nearly clocked a photographer because you forget they got these big dividers as you come into like thinking, and you're in your own world. And I was like proper dialed in at this point. There's me and this other geezer like next to us, like proper dialed into each other, smashing it out. And then we just like looked at each other, it's like, oh crap! There's like 2 photographers just sat in the middle of the road, like in between this divider, and just clocked him. But I've got a great photo of like me just running through with Tower Bridge like full in the background. It looks amazing. And yeah, went through halfway at 1:26, which was quite nice. That was right on the money. But I felt good. Like, didn't feel like I'd done it exactly to pace. I practiced in training to go this pace. This wasn't like some random let's beast mode it. And it was fine. But I knew like Canary Wolf was coming up, and I've never run London before. It's my first London, and I've heard stories of Canary Wolf. And they're true. They're all true. It's definitely the worst part of the course because you're heading towards it, and you see it was actually amazing. I saw Philly Bowden. If you don't know who that is, it's an elite female.
I was sort of buzzing for Philly. She finished 11th overall.
Yeah, she was 2:30 something.
11th woman she finished.
But I saw her coming back just on her own. I was like, yeah, go Philly, woo! Yeah, she was hoofing back. So you see the elites coming back the other way, and you're like, oh, I wonder how far it is round. And I'm just like looking at my watch. I'm like, oh, this is just bang on. Like everyone is like 4:05, 4:07, 4:07. Like just like knock on every single water station. Like I said, I'd get water from every one, and they're in like Buxton little bottles. So I'd drink about half of it and then pour the rest over my head. And also, people were moaning about the water stations. I don't think it was a problem. They were every 5k. Could there be more? Yes. Was fine for me. I think I didn't fit. I mean, I was dehydrated by the end, but who isn't at the end of a marathon? And they also had like hose taps, like the fire service or whoever did it. Like they'd done this with these massive hoses just covering the whole road. Big commercial like spray hoses every mile, pretty much. You just run through that and getting soaked. And I was actually cold at one point. Because at the start of the race when I ran through it, I was like, oh, that was cold. Not so much later, but yeah, got to Canary Wharf, and then you run under this massive tunnel and you lose all GPS signal when you know what's going on. And I was bang on the money at 30k as well. I was like, still on it, lads, still feeling good. And then got to 35k, and every kilometer started to feel hard. But it's hard to explain. It wasn't like the wall like I've hit before, because my legs felt fine, like absolutely fine, like no ache whatsoever. My back was hurting quite a lot at this point, and I could feel it hitting the sciatic nerve and making my leg feel a bit numb, which I knew was really bad. And I knew this could be serious problems because it felt like my leg wanted to give way, which I just know was the glute and the back just really grumbling. And I'm like, I can get through this. Like I'm like Freddy, a really stubborn guy. I'm stubborn and I quite enjoy being in pain. But this was not the kind of pain I really wanted to be in. And I think the heat was starting to get to me as well, because like Freddie said, there's people just collapsing in London. It was ridiculous. Just on the side, throwing up, like crawled up in a ball. And like, I'm not blowing my horn because I'm not, compared to so many people in London, I'm not fast. Like I'm at decent speed, but I'm not like no 2:30 marathoner. These guys are all like decent club runners. We're all talking like 2:50 runners, sub 3 runners, and they're collapsed in a heap. Like it's ridiculous, how bad it was. And yeah, it was just people walking all over the place. And it actually was playing on my mind a bit as well. I think like you, Freddie, and I was just like, God, I don't want to like die here. And I was like, I have to get to the finish because my drop bag is there, my phone, so I can't even tell my wife what's going on or anything. So, but it got to 35k, and it just like it's like a light switch, like bush. I went to like 5:30k pace, like instantly, and I'm like, I could just see the sub 3 dream just die instantly, like right then. I'm just like, I can't. But it wasn't the wall. Like I've hit the wall multiple times, and it wasn't a wall because I didn't like have my gels. I had 3 gels an hour. Wasn't going too fast. I think in hindsight, I should have run 10 seconds a k faster, slower, to just go sub 3 and not worry about the 2:55 I wanted. I think in hindsight, for the weather, that was stupid, and I should not have done that. I should have adjusted at the start of the day and not been so pig-headed about it. And that cost me my sub 3 at the end, for doing that, because I just hit it and I'm like, I've got nothing. And then I could probably just about scrape a sub 3 if I like keep this up, and then I could just see like 5:40, 5:45 pace. And I'm like, this is over. It's over. Like, and then I started to feel lightheaded, and I started to like go like zigzagging across the road. And I thought I was actually going to collapse and fall over. And it was really weird. I was still running, but like really slowly with horrendous form. And it's really hard, like running badly in like carbon race shoes. They're not designed for that. And like, it makes you feel really wobbly anyway. And I thought I'm going to collapse in a minute. Like, this is horrendous. I just remember seeing Big Ben and I'm like, oh, I'm nearly there. And the bit you turn the corner, and it's like, oh, it's only 800 meters to go. That 800 meters was, I swear, 10 miles. Like, I swear to God.
I was tracking.
Like,
you'd stop the tracking, so we knew there was something wrong. Me and Fiona were chatting on the group saying, we hope he's all right. It just stopped for about 8 minutes. He didn't move. And then all of a sudden it pinged back to life, and you're on the corner, turning the corner in front of the palace to head towards that road straight to the finish. I was like, oh, he's coming in, but for some reason, it's behind his target.
Yeah. I mean, there was loads of time maps and stuff and whatnot, and like the tracking, I think it was fairly accurate. But yeah, I came across the finish line in 3:14, and I was genuinely like gutted. I'm like, that is not a good time for me. It said I had a PB because I actually ran the marathon time in like 3:11. But obviously, there's the slightly longer, because unless you follow the blue line exactly, you'll generally run longer. But I was just like, I was so on for it. And then I thought for some reason in my head, I was the only one to have a bad day, until I spoke to everyone who also had a bad day. But yeah, when I came across the line, I was happy to be. I've got some pictures of me crossing the line. They will never see the light of day because they are not good. But I went blue, and then a supporter just kind of caught me, and I wasn't like that after Endure or anything. Like, I was fine. I mean, after Race to the Stones, I was a bit bleh, but like, this was just really bad. I haven't felt this bad since I've done Ironman. Like, when you say I left it all out there, I left it all out there, and my lips have gone blue, and I was like shaking, and then I couldn't grab the rail, and then I was like helped to like the end, And I actually thought I was going to have to go to medical. I didn't know what I wanted. Like, I felt like I wanted to be sick. And then I felt like I wanted to pass out. And I just had to sit next to a tree. And luckily, I found my mate Nick. So, like, I don't know how. He was there at the end. And I'm like, all right, mate. Well, I was like, yeah, like, literally, he was like 10 meters away from me. So I spoke to him briefly. I was like, right, like over there. And I was like half dying, like crawling across a horse cast roads. And he just looked at me. He's like, are you right, Jay? And he was going for a 250. And he trained all year, like, and he does more miles than me, which, as you guys know, I do a lot of miles. So he's done more miles than me. He's been training at 4-minute K pace the whole year. And I was like, yeah, you can do it easily. And last year he ran a 254 or something there. This year he just got under 3 hours. He said he died of death, like, out there. Like, and there was another guy who was running a 245 and he ended up running 315. I mean, some people had a great day. Someone we know had a PB in under 3 hours. He got 259.58. It's like, yeah, wild. But so many people were just 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes, hour slower in, like, and this is in like a fast category. So God knows what it's like for a normal marathoner out there. It would have been horrific. And then after I like drank, you got these at the end of London. They give you like all the sponsors, and they had these like protein shake things. I don't know what it was, but damn, that thing hit the spot. And after about 45 minutes, I felt amazing, but I really buggered my back up. Like, I couldn't walk properly. And it was like, I think it's a grade 2 strain now. I am seeing physio, by the way, in case anyone's concerned. But yeah, it was really quite painful and I couldn't walk properly. And it wasn't due to DOMS either. It was like, this was like pain, like not good. But the people in London, incredible. Like, the actual general pop. So I was on the way back. And I was like, where my medal? As you do, around my race top. And I had my wife with me and my 2 kids and my dogs as well, who were great. We're walking back and people are like, oh yeah, well done doing the marathon, like, oh, good on you. It's like, normally in London you get robbed and beaten up by like some random person, but like everyone was just like, I just brought out the best in everyone. It was crazy, like how like everyone, you'll see there's pictures on YouTube, people like clapping the marathoners. I mean, like, you only run a marathon, you're not save the country from war or whatever. Like, it's but it's so good. And the medal you get at the end, which is this bad boy, anyone can see, is actually, I'm not really into medals, but that is pretty cool. And it weighs, you could knock someone out with that. It's like a dinner plate. And I'm also quite jealous because like your super halves, there was a bit at the end for the people getting the Abbott's like the majors, getting the big like 6-star medal. I'm like, oh, do want one of them. That's pretty cool.
I said that in the chat. You've got one now. Only 5 or 6 to go. If you start now.
Yeah, because Sydney's now one. I think there's another couple more coming in now. I think it's going to be 9 in total. Yeah. I mean, I'm genuinely not that fast. I wouldn't be that fast if I didn't run London again, because there's so much pressure I put on myself as well, because I went out there for a very specific time and stuff, and I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to try at Newport next time, especially a bit earlier in the year. And if I run London again, I think I'll just do it for the jolly, rather than trying to go for a PB and stuff. I think I'd rather just have a chill 315, rather than trying to do like a 255 or a 250. And I'll target something like Newport, because there's too many crowds, there's too much to think about. And also, coming out of bloody, where is it? The Canary Wharf. I swear to God, it was going uphill all the time.
Yeah.
It's like constantly just going uphill. Like, and the hills weren't much, but there's undulating, annoying. You know, like you get ultras. There's hills that just feel like they're just gone forever, but they're not really hills. And like, I was like, can this hill go around the corner? And you know, when the split thing said like, oh, your next split's 412, and like that basically means that there's a massive hill somewhere. If it's gone to that, if it's gone like 403, I was like, that means it's downhill. If it's 412, it means it's a climb. And I was genuinely gutted. I got quite emotional about like 36k or whatever when I just realised my dream had just died. I put so much work in, and like I was absolutely gutted. Just the weather and my back. I think it's probably my back more than the weather. I don't know, because I felt like I was going to die at the end. So, and I feel like I do okay in the heat. I just don't know.
It sounded like you had a bit of heat stroke as well. I speak from experience because I'm see-through, and I've I've had heat stroke in the peer-to-peer race before, and it was not pleasant. It was really awful, and I stopped and sat down, and it was my stubbornness that got us to the end because I
It's
was
just the
out.
stubborn run away.
Yeah, I was like, my friend John was marshalling, and he was like, "You are not running anymore. Sit there and drink that water." And I had one swig and went, "I'll really hate myself if I don't finish. Bye," and just took off because I was like, "I need."
Yeah, like I don't think I've ever DNF'd a running race ever. I've DNS'd quite a few, which is not starting because of injury or whatever. But DNF, if I start something, I'm finishing it. Like I'm just too damn stubborn to like do it. And I was like, if I'm suffering,
There's a theme here, guys. I'm just picking up a theme through this conversation. You're all cut from the same cloth. You're nuts.
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I mean, you got to be that way though. I mean, I will say, I think marathon training. I think Freddie will probably agree with me. And I don't know if you, Scott and Kaylee will, but marathon training is by far the hardest training I've ever had to do. Like I've personally not really trained for many marathons specifically for a marathon. Actually, this is the first time I've specifically trained for a marathon properly. I've always trained for either ultras or like Ironman races, which are different to a marathon.
I don't think I've ever, because obviously I started using the Runner app in November, I think it was, November, December, whatever. And that's kind of the first time I've used structure in training. So I don't know is the truth. Yeah, I don't know. I actually quite enjoyed the training. It's been quite good, apart from the last couple of long runs that I missed, obviously, through being poorly. But I actually quite enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't. I can still think that 5K for me will probably be the worst. I still say 5K is a harder event, and I think for me that's probably going to be harder to train for because it's so much of it is speed, which is I hate.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what you train for, if you're going for like trying to go really fast at it, you got to put a lot of miles in. So like if I was training for a fast 10K, if I want to get my 10K down to like 36, 35 or something like that, I'm going to have to do the same mileage as I do for a marathon, which is crazy. And it's the same for a half. Like you do the same mileage, but it's weird. It goes the other way as well. Like for an ultra, I was doing the same miles I was for the 100 mile that I did for London. But the difference in that is that my long run in training is 15, 20K of it's at marathon pace, which is hard. Whereas for the ultra, it's all like 5-minute, 5:30K pace for me, which is chilling. And I'm just living my best life, like eating a kebab. Like, you know, and you just do 2 back-to-back runs. The runs of the week are the same. There's just like one speed work or one hill session or whatever, and like maybe a bit tempo or something, but generally not even that. And it's just a lot of just plodding. It's just a lot of miles. Whereas, yeah, I mean, I do find the 10K racing very, very hard, just because I feel like it's just 2 5Ks back to back. And there's not really much difference in the misery. With a 5K, at least the misery's over in like a reasonable amount of time, whereas a 10K feels like it drags on a bit.
There is one thing I wanted to mention in my run that happened, and I want to believe that it happened by chance. I've got a feeling that the band probably played this for everybody for a couple of hours. But as I come to that last corner to turn left to go to the straight, there was a brass band sat on the corner playing the Rocky theme tune.
Oh, I was waiting to say they were going to play the last post, but you know,
it was the Rocky, and I'd like to believe that was the only time they played it that day. It's the time that I was coming up to it, and I tell you what a game changer that was. Putting a band right there. You can imagine that at the Great North, if you're going down that bank, going to the seafront and then turning left, put a band right there, get them playing the Rocky theme tune. I'm telling you, that was an absolute game changer. What a moment to turn up there as that was going on. As a kid that kind of grew up in the 80s, that was bliss.
So did you?
Sorry. I was just going to say at the Great North Run, the year it was out and back, there was that year after COVID where they changed the course for like so people wouldn't be on massive chairs. When I was coming back, the band were playing Sex on Fire, and that was just class. I was like, woohoo! Party time. And it's like, it's one of those songs that's been played to death. Like, I loved it. Like, I'm of that generation,
You
2005.
can't go wrong with the Kings of Leon, can
Yeah,
you?
but like obviously it's been overplayed now, but then it was like,
Yeah.
what a great song to hear now. I think it was that and like
Yeah.
Mr. Brightside or something by the Killers, and I was like, this is class. The music
Yeah.
just changes the moods. Like,
It really does. It really does. Makes a
Yeah,
massive difference.
it is nice having some decent tunes playing. Like I there was loads of songs playing, loads of live music in London, and I just one of the things also about running a fast marathon like that is I just can't remember a lot of it. I can't. I was so dialed in that I remember like the Cutty Sark, which was probably the best bit. And I remember going to the embankment just because I knew it was just a pile of misery. Not embankment, Canary Wharf. And obviously I remember running down the mall and what I said running. That was a very broad term at that point. Running down there. Yeah, it is cool having that kind of music. I'm not going to lie. And one thing I will slightly off topic, and I wouldn't say this, but I thought London, if you get into via the ballot, it's actually a really good value race. Like really good value. It's 70 quid,
Right.
and you get like this chunk of a medal. You get the T-shirt. You obviously get to run one of the greatest marathons ever. The aid stations are pretty spot on with water and stuff. Like yeah, it's such good value. Like for an actual just a normal marathon. I'm not fussed about doing it again, but of course I've entered the ballot for next year because why not?
That was my next question really for you two particularly, because I know Kaylee's got this pain / pleasure to come, but you've had a few days post run now. You've been through the DOMs. I'm assuming the way you're bouncing around, Freddy, you're feeling a bit more flexible now.
Yep.
I know what you said initially, right after it, on reflection, bad day at the office. Would you put it down as a bad day at the office and have another crack? Or are you done with marathon?
I kind of have mixed emotions about it still. I've got to be really honest, without sounding too much of a drama queen. I actually found the whole experience quite traumatic because I couldn't understand what was going on with me. And so I did find it quite traumatic, genuinely. I think the only way, in fact, let's go back a step. All of the training that we've done was through the winter. It was in the cold, it was in the wet, it was in the miserable months of the year, in the dark and all of that. All of a sudden, it's over 20 degrees on race day. You can't prepare for that when you're winter training. You just can't. Right now, the way that I feel, the only way that I would do a marathon at this time of year is if I was lucky enough to get a London place, because it's London, you can't turn it up. Will I go back to Manchester? At the moment, the answer would be no. I would look to do something more along the lines of what Kaylee's doing, which is why I asked you when Amsterdam was, Kaylee, because that's obviously an autumn one, which means you get to train through the summer. I don't want to ever experience what I experienced in Manchester again. So I can't see that I would ever do a marathon at that time of year unless it was London, simply because of the risk that it poses in the sudden change of temperature. And I don't want that anymore. So no, I don't plan to do Manchester. I don't plan to do any spring marathons, but I would consider a London and an autumn one. Yeah.
Billy, how do you feel hearing all this?
Absolutely delighted.
Well, I think you're in a good position because, like I say, you've got that summer training.
Yeah,
it's not going to get hotter.
But
yeah.
I think that I'll struggle with that because I really struggle in the heat. I mean, this week, like I did a track session last night and it was like running on the surface of the sun. It was just like my pace, the track was like 800s and 600s to 10K pace. And I mean, I'm not on my 10K pace at the minute. I'm just coming back to fitness. But I was like, 7:30 seems reasonable. But that was so hard to hold by the fourth set. It was just like, in the heat, it's just horrendous. And I think credit to both of you because that was my takeaway comment. So I was tracking lots of people at London. And the Manchester tracking was awful, by the way. The London tracking was far better. Manchester was literally in a browser and it was just like a bar updating, whereas London was really like spot on until you crossed the timing map, Freddy. I was just guessing at where you were really, but I was tracking you and you had a rough idea, but like it just was, compared to London, it was like night and day, and lots of people have said this. But on both counts, I know lots of people that ran them both, and there was probably, I know one got a PB. Well, a couple from my club did at Manchester, but same as what you said, Jamie, like at London, a lot of our very experienced marathoners all had a really bad day at the office on Sunday. Like we were sat, I mean, we did a 4-mile run at the beach, which was beautiful. It's zone 2 run, and then went and sat in a coffee shop and tracked everyone, and it was great. But we were like having conversations all morning of, oh, where's this one now? And like, oh my God, what's happened there? But the one I really want to shout out, I mean, obviously he's my pal as well, but Harry Morgan, you know, Jog On with Harry Morgan, he paced a perfect marathon. Like, honestly, you can go on his Strava's open. I think you can go and have a look at his splits. But Louise coached him, and he wanted to run it conservatively, so he was going for a 3:10, but that's well within his wheelhouse. He could get sub 3 if he wanted to. He's like a 17-minute, sub 17 5k, no, 17 minutes something 5k. He's really come on with his running. But honestly, he started at like, say, for argument's sake, I could be wrong because maths and stuff, but my it was in miles, so it was like 7:30s. Then we're looking again, it was like 7:20s, 7:16s, 7:10s. So, and he paced it to perfection. Like, and I've seen clips that he's put on, but honestly, he did so well. So I just like, I know I'm an ambassador for Jog On. This is not like, he hasn't asked me to do this, but I genuinely was over the moon for him because I've had loads of conversations with him about it, and he just paced it to perfection, and it was just a joy to see because it was his first ever marathon as well. And I think I asked him, I actually spoke to him on Thursday, the Thursday before. I had a call with Louise, and he was on the call because they were going away, so they were at our mum's, and I said, oh, how are you? And he went, I never think usually more than like 60 minutes ahead, Kaylee, so I haven't even got it in my head yet that like I'm going to be on that start line. And like, he's very well known as well, so like he was like, I'm going to have that, but he's a very sociable guy, so he was looking forward to that side of it. But by all accounts, he just had a great day, and he smashed it. Like, and I just, in that heat, seeing how everyone struggled, and my heart like went out to so many people, you two included, because like you're my friends, and it's not nice, you know, watching someone pace perfectly and then blow up and then text you and say, oh, I went blue, and then watching your other friend like get like your splits were getting slower and slower, and I was like, I hope he's okay. I hope, because when you don't know, I wasn't messaging you. I didn't know what was going on. The relief when you crossed the finish, I was like, right, he's done now. Like I can stop stressing. But yeah, honestly, kudos to you both. You should be really proud of yourselves. Like, I know we talk about times and all that's nonsense, but really it is nonsense. At the end of the day, you've gone out on like what is potentially the hottest day of the year so far this year, and still, I mean, Jamie, that's still an unbelievably respectable time. And Freddy, you were like on the morning, well, the like at midnight driving down to Manchester to sleep in your car. I mean, that's not a great start for a marathon.
I can't cope with your randomness with that. I can't. I have to plan everything. I cannot cope with that. Like, regardless of the running, that mindset, I can't do it.
I think they call it ADHD, mate. You know, there's nothing I can do about it. It's just that's the way my brain works.
I would have I've made a decision and just gone with it. Like, but I think you do these things, lessons are learned, aren't there? Like, yes, I am going into it, and I am scared, but like, I've got a good plan in place. Like, I'm gonna get coached through it, so I'm taking it very seriously. So,
you'll be fine. It's gonna hurt.
I wonder though. Are we taking the fun out of running? And I don't mean us necessarily here, but I mean us as a community of runners everywhere. It used to be years ago, people would be like, I'm going for a run. Oh, how far are you going to go? Oh, I'm going to go do a marathon. That's amazing. That's amazing. And everyone would be like, I can't believe, I know someone that's done a marathon. That guy's a genius. Or that girl. Then it moved on a bit, and now it seems to be, oh, you're doing a marathon. What time are you going for? You know, how long did it take? And is that taking the fun out of running?
I do have something to say about this a little bit. Because like, this is, funny enough, this is actually very much like in computer game world as well. People don't know I'm also a bit of a gamer, but there's something called min-maxing. where you can take the fun out of a game by optimizing absolutely everything. And I do agree with you, Freddie, to a degree.
Oh, I'm not saying it's my opinion. I'm asking the question.
No,
you know?
you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. So like, and then when it doesn't go well as well, you get quite disheartened. Whereas I am a bit disheartened, but I'm also like, there's more races. So just to quickly answer Scott, yes, I'm doing another marathon, and because I've done I've done a lot of marathons, just not generally part of an Ironman, and I've done quite a few trail marathons and 3 road marathons now. But I got until that time says 2 something. I'm never stopping. And I plan on doing 2 marathons a year, 2 A marathons. One in the spring, which is going to be Newport next year. If I get into London, I'm still going to do Newport as my A race, and then I'm going to have London as a fun time and not care. And then I'm going to do Abingdon, which is near me, which is another flat one in October. Abingdon and Newport, both boring courses, but they have about 20 meters of elevation change. So I plan on doing those so I can get my time. But you're right, and that's why I try and do like trail racing in between, because I say trail racing, I tend not to race trails, and I just don't like. I've got, hopefully I can make the start line. Okay, injury like South Downs Way 100 coming up, and I genuinely don't care if I get a PB. Like I do not. It would be nice. But I'm not like, it's not like London where I'm like, I really want a PB and I'm going to like be really upset if I don't get a PB. Whereas if I went 22 hours at South Downs Way, I'd be like, cool. I'm going to stop at every aid station, going to get my sandwich, going to get my cake, just like have a chat with whoever, have a nice time. I'm going to be on my phone taking selfies, messaging the group, that kind of thing. And I'm going to have my fun doing that. So, but I got the mindset where I do have to do work races, if that makes sense. I got this kind of weird grind mindset where I do have to like really, I want to be able to see how much I can push myself, and I've found that with, especially I really like the half marathon distance, and I had a really great PB this year, and I really would love to get it to like sub 120. But I find it's a really fun race, and it's super hard, but only hard for like an hour and 20 minutes. It's not hard for 3 hours, and the amount of like emotional investment you put into a marathon as well with the training. There's so much training, whereas with the halves and 10Ks, it's a lot more chilled. But yeah, I have to go to the trail for fun.
I would agree with that. But the issue I have is, I think I hide on the trails as my comfort blanket, because now I'm going back to road racing, and I have to do it because there's goals I want to tick off. But I think my confidence is like all over the place now, because I don't know. I've hit on the trails, trained for an ultra, and now I'm like, I feel like sometimes with road racing, you're very exposed because of the times. Whereas with trail racing, it's like, I'm just going to go and have fun on the trails. Even if you're just doing a 10K, it doesn't have to be like an ultra or whatever. There's something about running with your friends on the trails, doing a race where it's a good day out. But I think if I was truly honest with I know that's what I love. I know that's where my heart is. But if I went fully on the trails and never ticked off what I wanted to achieve on the road, I really regret it. And I had this conversation actually, just to pivot, when I was at the test flight with Paul on Saturday. He was saying, I said something and he went, "You're meant to be a pro runner, man, you'll be fine." And I said, I was talking to him about what I was training for, and I was like, I love the trails, but I just need to put to bed a few goals, and then I think I'd be happy to go, do you know what, this is a bit of me, and we'll see what we can do. But that's why when you were on about the 100 and all this, I was like, I don't want to be locked in on the trails the way I am with the road stuff. I just want to, I might get there eventually, but I don't want to take the fun out of sanctuary. Like on Tuesday night, I did 5 miles on my own on the trails in the sun, zone 2 pace. And honestly, I was messaging Scott afterwards. I was like, I've just had the best run. The time didn't matter. It was all about easy running. like obviously my session was yesterday, but like to me that's the difference, and that's where that argument comes in. We take the fun out because it's in our nature to want to get better at things. I think as a human, like genuinely that's what you like. And you know, 10 years ago or 8 years ago when I started running, a 10K was my favourite distance, and it was only my favourite distance because I could comfortably run it. It was a fun race to do. It felt like a good amount of time to be out. Now, because I'm more serious about running, I hate 10K. It's the worst distance to, if I was racing, like it's vomit inducing. But I'm running Sunday 10K with Rachel, and we're just going to have a bit of fun, and I'm going to do a bit of tempo in it. And I'm like, yeah, that'll be fun. But it's like, it's just perspective, isn't it? Like, the shift.
I think the one thing that I've learned that I want to try and adopt as I move forward from it now is big events like that, like Manchester. Let's say next year I get a place in London. The time will be irrelevant that I finish that run, and I can say that now. I wouldn't target any specific time for that. I think those big events where you get those big crowds, for me, it's an opportunity to soak that up and not care about anything else, just enjoying that run. I think timed events and where I want to try and get PBs, I'm going to try and focus on at local events, the smaller ones where you don't get the crowds and you can really just knuckle down. Because I think actually if you are too focused on your time at somewhere like London or Manchester or whatever, you're missing out on so much more of the atmosphere.
I would agree with that, and that's how I sit with London as well now.
Yeah.
I would definitely do a chill race. One kind of analogy I wanted to give you. Now, this is for the fat blokes here. So me, Scott, and Freddy, ex-fat blokes. You're excluded, Kaylee, because you clearly never been. Well, you're not. Well, first of all, you're not a bloke, and you clearly you've never been fat.
Well, there's a story for another day.
Well, you don't look like you've ever been of the chunky variety. But have you ever eaten pretty much an entire box of Celebrations or like Quality Street or something along those lines?
We call that a Tuesday.
Oh.
Yeah.
But have you done something like that in all seriousness, like eating like a big box of chocolates or like 3 Easter eggs?
Yeah, unconsciously as well. That's when I've got to get another one out and it's empty. I'm like, oh shit.
But generally, how does it feel in the beginning to how does it feel in the end?
Oh yeah, the first ones are lovely, aren't they? The last ones you're like, oh, I'm eating this because I'm just for sake of it.
Yeah.
See, yeah, and I kind of want to take this to running, and this is why I don't just do trail anymore, because trail is like a lovely box of Quality Street. Like if I ate trail all the time, it wouldn't be as nice as when I do get to do it.
Right.
And I know this is a self-imposed limit on myself. Obviously, I can just do what I want because I'm not a professional athlete. It doesn't matter. But if I did it all the time, it would take the fun out of when I'm racing trail and they're fun. Like there's a really nice trail marathon near me that I've raced before called the Hampshire Hobbit. Quite hilly. But whenever I raced it, it's just a good time. And you get a cool pint glass at the end. And my local club run that I'm actually marshalling in the 17th of May, I am on Checkpoint 1. If you're racing the Compton Marathon, I will be there throwing sweets at you. That's another really fun one. I did it last year and just wanted to get round in like sort of 5:30 pace as a training run, and it was so much fun. I actually ended up joining the club because of that run. And you know, and that's kind of like your Quality Street where you're dipping in, eating the good ones, but then you know you got to go back and you got to put in some graft on the road. Because I know, like, just like Kaylee, if I didn't get a sub 3, because I'm actually like my goals in like running for the road is a sub 3 marathon, ideally around 250, and a sub 120 half. The 10K I'm quite happy with my time, and the 5K I'm happy with my time. I just don't really care. You know, I'm pretty much at 18 minutes for the 5 and 37 for the 10. I'm more than happy with that. I don't care about that. But those half in that marathon time, I would be disappointed with myself if I didn't go for that.
Yeah. And you talk about trail, and that's going to be kind of our next focus now, right? Well, certainly for the 3 out of the 4 of us, our focus now is moving on to the long stuff, where those times actually do not matter.
Yeah.
And it's just how far can we go? So I'm sure over the next month or 2 of doing these podcasts, we're going to start saying the E word again, and get ready for the build up for that.
I'm just looking forward to harassing Scott. I'm not going to lie. It's gonna. I'm really looking forward to it.
Lewis has been
So-
asking, I've been doing a bit of running with Lewis, and he keeps asking me, "Are you really going to do the 100?" I was like, "I don't know. You're better off asking Jamie if I'm going to do the 100." So
Yeah, I mean, you'll be right. I mean, I am putting a big asterisk there because it's like, how am I going to feel 2 weeks after South
yeah,
Downs?
I've got
Um,
South Downs as my safety net to keep you away from me. To be fair, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I remember what it felt like after the last enduro, but I am going to take South Downs pretty chill, especially with my back issue. I'm not going to be able to train running for 3 weeks now, I think. So that's just going to be that. But yeah, I'd love to do 100 at that race. But I'm also, I'll be honest, I'm not that fussed if I don't do it. But I do want to get a t-shirt.
I think we should start wrapping this up because we've done it again. We're at 1 hour 20, and I know we said we would make these a bit more palatable for long runs. So most people out there on a Sunday long run, unless you're Jamie, he'd have finished an hour ago. A couple of shout outs before we finish. Freddy, I was tracking you, and clearly on the Manchester one, above the bar, there was a little icon that said map. You clicked it, and it showed you exactly where he was.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. And you were right, you were 5 minutes ahead of Lucy Shaw. Freddie, I don't know if you've seen her or not. But
No,
literally,
unfortunately
Lucy was on
not.
the tail, and as you were slowing down, she was catching you, but you finished about 4 minutes ahead of her.
Real shame. I was lucky enough that I bumped into Mac Tracks from YouTube. I
Yeah.
bumped into him before we started the run, which was great because we were messaging each other the night before, and then we randomly bumped into each other, which is amazing. With 30-odd thousand people, you bump into someone you just messaged, and really just to throw out a thank you to everyone that said hello to me. That still doesn't stop getting weird, right? When someone comes up and says, "Watch your channel." So there was quite a bit of that going on. People at water stops that recognised me. Yeah, it was amazing. It was really nice for them to just try and G me up and get me going again. So I really appreciate it. So if you did say hello, thank you very much. It didn't go unnoticed.
Well done, both of you chaps. And Kaylee will definitely be speaking about Amsterdam more and more, but I hope it hasn't put you off or anybody else listening that fancies doing it.
I get to not watch you, Kaylee. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah,
It's so much
don't
fun
get me
to
wrong.
watch.
The Amsterdam debrief will be fantastic.
I love watching other people race because if you do it yourself, you know how much it kind of means to them and hurts.
You know what?
And don't get me wrong, it was type 2 fun. Like now I look back and think, actually, it wasn't that bad a day, was it? But it was just horrible at the time.
I'm not worried in the sense of I'll do it because I'm a good trainer. Like, I know that as long as I'm stay injury free and stuff, I will complete it because one, I've got an ass that doesn't quit, and two, I am a good trainer. That's like I'm much better.
And you've run an ultra marathon, just FYI.
Yeah.
So
Well,
That's true.
you already know you can do it. Now it's like it's your first normal marathon, right?
yeah.
Doesn't matter then, does it? It doesn't matter. It's going to be a PB.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a goal, but I just want to go sub 4. But if I go 3:59:59, I'm happy with that.
I told James this in the group. If it's your first marathon, I'd be hesitant on goals.
Yeah, I know, and I know everyone says that, but the reason I'm doing this is because if I absolutely hate it and I never want to run one again, that would be a perfect time to finish in. That's what I've got in my head.
Fair.
So I've
That's fair.
asked, obviously, like I say, I'm going to be coached through it. So I've asked my coach, and she believes that that is a conservative goal for me. If I can get my speed, which is why I'm now training for 5K, get my speed in a good place, go into it in a good way. So I'm putting my trust in her, and if we get near it, and she's like, "Kaylee, reassess the goal," then I'll reassess the goal because I need someone who's got experience to go, "This is how we do this," because it's the one distance where I think you can't just print a plan off and like I have done for all the other distances, print a plan off and follow it. I need someone to go, "Yes, you can do this race, but actually I wouldn't do this race because I'm going to be training in race season, so I need someone to like rein me in." So that was why. So yeah, I've got I've now got the same coach as Chris. So Louise Small, Harry's better half, is coaching me as well now. So just for a couple of weeks, we've just started. But she's one of the fastest marathoners in the UK. I think if whatever position Philly is Philly 30th or something, or she might have moved up now with London, but I think Louise is around the 40th or something. She's done a I can't remember what her time is. She's got a really good marathon time anyway, but she's phenomenal. And I was like, if you want experience, like go to someone who knows this shit inside out. She was meant to run.
Yeah.
She was meant to run London on this elite start line, but unfortunately, she had a bone injury in her foot, so she had to pull out. So she was spectating for Harry. But she'll come back, and she's even considering Amsterdam, so we could be there together. Not running at the same pace though, obviously.
It's a perfect pace for you.
Yeah, no, she'll be gunning it, and like she's unreal. So hopefully she'll get there.
Right.
I think that's us done.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you
Catch
very
you on
much.
the next one.
See you next time.